Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again with a Hollow Palm build. It's been quite a while since I've done a Hollow Palm build. When they first came out, I did one or two or three or some shit, maybe once a league, but it started to feel a bit uncomfortable with the lack of gem sockets in your gear, meaning you've always got to make some sort of decisions because Hollow Palm itself is a skill or sort of scaling type that is based around a cluster jewel that gives you a bunch of extra physical damage per dexterity, and it means you cannot use your gloves and you cannot use any weapons, shields, anything like that. So that by default takes away quite a lot of your sockets from your gear, and then it's pretty tough to like fit everything in and start making decisions as to what to keep and all of that sort of shit. And then stacking dexterity is pretty tough when trying to get everything else as well. That all said, I have been wanting to make a Hollow Palm for a while, just haven't really pulled the trigger, and Sunder is something I've been looking at for Hollow Palm as well. So this league, Sunder got a bit of a buff with faster movement of its wave and also more damage, and Sunder Hollow Palm seemed like a bit of a natural thing to finally rip into. I've decided to go from the perspective of a champion, so champion with lots of armor, lots of evasion, using perseverance for all that damage scaling, and then going full impale. And it's been working really well. Of course, it's kind of hard to fail a champion, I feel, but I've not been too sold on Hollow Palm effectiveness for a while, so I wasn't really sure how it was going to be going, but it's gone fairly well. Like, the feeling of Sunder this patch, this league, is actually pretty damn good. You do have quite a lot of damage in Sunder, it does move fairly fast, and it can cover screens quickly. It's still somewhat of a, like, thin, tunnely straight line, as you can tell, so certain types of maps are going to be much better for a Sunder character, or you can build into some sort of explosions like Herald of Ash or actual explodey mods, and then that would cover your AoE quite a bit nicer as well. Likewise, just the shockwave support, but this build cannot use a shockwave since it's unarmed, and shockwave is only for staff and maces. That's the one. So just then you saw me nearly die, but that's because this is a tier 11, I think it is, beyond tile in 83 Lake. I was doing it to see how we could hold up with it, and yeah, the first few mobs caught me a bit off guard. I do at this point have like 100k armor, 100k evasion, perma fortify, and some other stuff I'll go over in just a sec when I look at the build, but it is a pretty thick build, and you can also see there's a lot of cyclone going on because I am using Dancing Dervish to keep up Rampage, and also use the actual cyclones of the Dancing Dervish to help keep up some sort of utility, but I'll go over that in just a sec as well. So essentially you're going to see a lot of Rampage throughout the gameplay, because if you get your Dancing Dervish up, you've got Rampage happening, and that just gives you a whole bunch of movement speed, attack speed, and various effects as you hit certain kill thresholds for your kill streaks, if you're unaware what Rampage is. So it does make it a bit more fun to have a bunch of flashy effects, but at the same time it's a bit annoying having to try and keep up this Rampage, because as soon as it goes down you then can't attack, and you have to reapply Rampage through your Dancing Dervish with some sort of skill, and in this case I'm using Bladestorm. You can see how good Sunder is though for blights as well. This is like fully spec'd juiced blight on tier 16 maps, and as lots of stuff spawns, Sunder goes in and has a lot of overlaps with its shockwaves, and thus killing large scale mob types very easily. So Sunder's pretty strong in that regard. Sunder's biggest weakness has always been like single target, and it's still kind of no difference here. My clear is definitely my highlight, or I guess you could say like certain types of clear are the highlight, but I avoided shrines here just so I could test a bit of damage against one Shaper Guardian, that is Phoenix, and the single target held up pretty well so far. I've still got a bit of scaling to do, but I'm pretty happy with how it's going, because yeah, this is a character that's built pretty thick. It's a character that's using Sunder and Hollow Palm, and overall it's gone pretty quick. and we do have a decent DPS. So I've still got pretty high hopes for the end game. Bit more min-max, see how we go, but maybe be able to take on some Ubers and do it as a quote-unquote melee, if, you know, this even still counts as that anymore. So let me show you real quick how I built the character. So here's the current character, level 90 champion. Fisting is 300 dex. That one probably doesn't need to be explained. And we are based around champion, of course, and perseverance. So you can see my current armor and evasion is pretty high without flasks, without buffs. When I attack and impale, there's a bit more. But otherwise, we're still about 100 for the purpose of scaling, which is 500 attack damage, which means we are getting a very large amount of damage from perseverance. As we all know, pretty damn good these days. But the entire build is revolved around Hollow Palm. So count as deer wielding unencumbered, 40% more attack speed, which doesn't really help something like a Sunder since you're just hitting once hard, not too often. Adds 14 to 20 attack to melee skills per 10 dexterity, while no gloves and no weapons or anything. So right now I'm not hollow palmed with Dancing Dervish. It's pure basically utility. What you need to do is just attack enough times to trigger a first rampage, and just regular hits count as these rampage kills. So that does mean that as soon as you actually get the rampage, it disappears and you are once again hollow palming. So I can't actually be Sunder if I'm doing this until I trigger it, which is why I've got a weapon swap for a wand that has too much int for me. So whenever I weapon swap into this, there's no, you know, thing to be wielding, and you can just start attacking as per normal. So that's the point of a weapon swap like this. If you don't have the weapon swap there, then when you try and swap out of the sword, it won't swap into anything because you don't have a secondary setup. So that's why you need that little secondary setup. Otherwise, you are strictly relying on the fact that you'll proc this Dancing Dervish to get rid of the sword itself so you can start sundering, which is a little bit annoying sometimes. You don't always want to be having to rely on that. Sometimes you want to just be your regular build. But this thing is used in this build purely for utility. So what you got is gain some rampage, and then I've got the Blade Storm is what triggers it. So I run up, I have to Blade Storm some shit. Then it triggers, and you got some Cyclones spinning around, and what they do now is have Culling Strike. They can maim enemies for me. They have extra minion speed, so they zoom around a bit faster. They blind enemies, and then also you can have item rarity, so it culls with some rarity. So I'll just get some quality on these at some point as well, and that'll be a little bit stronger. As for the actual rest of the build, ignoring Dancing Dervish, which is just pure memes, you don't have to do it at all. Perseverance, lots of Fortify and stuff, Onslaught, so we are a champion. Scaling through Fortify, Armor Evasion, Impale, and then also Effect of auras and stuff. And for the auras, we are running Dread Banner, Grace, Determination, Sand Stance, and Pride. So it is a bit tough to fit everything in, but once you do, it's all pretty damn potent because of all of the scaling that we've got going on. So the scaling is mostly from the passive tree. You got some of the nodes over here, you got some of the nodes over here, you got the champion itself. I'm also using an anoint. But basically the tree is just trying to pick up a bunch of dexterity and a lot of little micro decisions to make here or there. So this is my little attempt at it so far, and I've had to pick and choose a lot of decisions already. If you make one of these yourself, I do encourage you to think about what you want in your build, because there's going to be lots of little decisions to make. You can make more life, more attack speed, more damage, more defensiveness, more suppress, that sort of stuff, clusters, but this is what I've landed on so far. One of the tough things is to make precise technique work, so it's 40% more attack damage if your accuracy is higher than your max life. So you either can't have too high of a max life, or you need to get more accuracy. That's why I've got these nodes over here. Currently my accuracy is sitting at 4,700. And my life is going to be around 4k, so even that is a little bit iffy in case you get blinded, stuff like that, or pick up a massive shrine, but it means you do need a little bit of accuracy somewhere. Without this, I'm not sure I'm even over the threshold anymore, but getting resist on gear is tough too, so they're pretty good nodes either way. We then just got a couple of mirrored rings that I picked up. They're nothing too special. 50C on this one, I think, and 50C or 60C on this one. Bunch of dexterity, some resists, some life if you can. In my current situation, I'm probably going to still try and upgrade this one because it doesn't do too much. But yeah, it's just a bit basic at the moment. Grabbed a percent dex amulet and just spammed it with essences. Essences pretty cheap at the moment. I did put a lot into this, like 10 divines until I hit just all stats, and then tried to like min-max the last suffix, but basically all you're looking for is some other form of stats, maybe some resists, so you could easily just justify using dexterity, 2 extra resists, and then make the entire build a bit easier on yourself. I tried to get a veiled suffix on there, got placement speed, and couldn't be fucked trying again, so it's a very shit amulet, but I put a lot of money into it, and I'm just keeping it, whatever. Then using Garricans for a bunch of extra life, as well as all the utility that it provides. So immune to burning ground, shock ground, chill ground, bit of extra regen. And then I managed to pick up some aura ones so that all of my auras are a little bit better. Then grabbed a Sunder delay helm enchant and made it eldritch so I could fit more stuff in. Used some chaos essence and got some dexterity going for that as well. And then same as previous character, grabbed a fractured base like this and then just rolled it until some dexterity and some good shit happened. I think it was essences as well this time around. Yep, essences, and I was just going for some other side rolls, and there it is. Less damage taken per dex, so it does help a little bit, and then increased curse effect as well. So that's the entire build there. For Sunder itself, there's a few choices you can make. I'm using currently Anomalous Sunder, so that wave travels even faster. Using Fist of War, got Brutality, Pulverize, melee fizz damage, and then life tap at the moment. I could technically sustain off of mana, with mana leech over here and a little bit of unreserved mana. It's not super comfortable sometimes, you know, you still want to have full like authority over when you cast and all that. And my last gem socket's not going to be too special, so life tap isn't really a wrong choice here, but you can do some other shit like if you really want, you can use Fortify and not have to spec Fortify. If you really want, you can use Bloodlust, and that's a bunch of extra fizz damage, and you can have chance to bleed attached to Dancing Dervish, for example, but then the damage is going to be a bit more situational, and you're going to be very mana based, so not too sure about that one. There's a few choices you can make, or you can go like a full cold, full elemental setup instead of what I'm doing, and then there's going to be a whole different bunch of sockets to use. Other than that, got Ancestral War Chief, Molten Shell, Dash, Blood and Sand, Dread Banner, Pride, Determination, and Grace. That's all I could fit in. With an unset ring, you could do like maybe another aura or another attack or some shit, or fit in another totem, but it's really tough to utilize the right sockets and spots at the moment. We then also just picked up a Brutal Restraint that has 5 dexterity rolls, I think it is. Yep. And 1 aura roll. It's really easy to use the PoB just to search for these now, and getting one that has 3 useful benefits on an area like this is super easy. So pick up whatever you want, dexterity, percent dexterity, effective auras, etc. So other than that, my large cluster is being reused from the previous character, bunch of evasion and armor, bit of just res and stuff there, and then a megalomaniac I picked up for 1 divine, which has evasion armor, armor, and 1 max res. So currently the only thing is that my character's pretty thick all around, but it doesn't have any spell suppress, and we can spec all the way up to Mage Bane and basically cap spell suppress instantly, but I'll lose a lot of evasion, and it's still possibly worth it. I'm still toying with the idea because essentially I've got like 20 to 30,000 more evasion than armor at the moment for the purpose of perseverance, so it's a bit imbalanced. If I take that, it goes penduluming the other way, and I've got way too much armor and not enough evasion, but I will be suppress capped if I really want to go down that route, and that would be a bit thicker overall. But still got some life to gain, still got some impale and stuff. I'm still making some choices for the min-max of the build, but currently that's what it is. I've also got an impale Watcher's Eye over here with a bit of grace evasion. Yeah, it's been a pretty good build. I can highly recommend Hollow Palm. If you can get Hollow Palm the gem before starting, and then just beeline towards a cluster immediately. At level 10, you can, or level 12, you can have Holy Palm in. It'll be some of the easiest, smoothest leveling you'll ever experience, as long as you keep up your dexterity a little bit. Just, you know, various items here or there give you a bit of extra dexterity while leveling. It's overpowered. And then, as long as you keep it going, it doesn't seem to slow down. So Holy Palm, definitely pretty good, but it is a bit specific to building and playstyle and stuff, so yeah, it's going to be a weird one, but a rewarding one, a fun one, definitely something different. So that's it for now. Hopefully got some end game video next time. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.